The moment didn't feel scripted. Elon Musk sat still, eyes fixed, not dodging, but digging deeper. The question had landed, not hard, just honest. Gayle King leaned forward. Do you ever wonder if you've gone too far? The room fell quiet. Producers watched from behind the glass, waiting for the deflection, the rehearsed line, the laugh. Instead, Musk whispered, every night. It wasn't defensive. It wasn't performative. It was real. And in that moment, everything stopped. No punchline, no PR buffer. Just a billionaire saying something no one expected, especially not on live television. Across the country, screens froze mid-sip. The silence after his answer echoed louder than any headline. And for the first time in a long time, the most powerful man in tech didn't look calculated. He looked human. Elon Musk isn't just a CEO, he's a force. A man who launches rockets, disrupts markets, and tweets headlines into existence. He's built companies, broken rules, and redefined what ambition looks like. Some call him a genius, others call him reckless. But all agree on one thing. He's always in control. Until now. Because this time, he didn't dodge the question. He answered it. And the world didn't know what to do with that. Gayle King, by contrast, is control personified. Elegant, measured, and fiercely intelligent. She doesn't rattle. She doesn't push for spectacle. She pulls for truth. And people give it to her, willingly or not. She's interviewed presidents, moguls, stars. But when Musk sat across from her, something shifted. Not because she cornered him, but because he let the armor fall. Their interaction wasn't combative. It was something far more dangerous. It was sincere. And in today's media landscape, that's the most unexpected collision of all. The promo spots ran all week. Elon Musk, Gayle King, one conversation you don't want to miss. CBS Mornings had booked him for a special extended segment. Part interview, part public reckoning. Topics on the table: AI, regulation, Twitter, Tesla, Neuralink, and the future of everything. The world expected fireworks. Musk would grandstand. Gayle would press. The internet would split like it always does. But what no one expected was honesty. The segment started like any other. 2 chairs, a backdrop of soft lighting, small talk, some early jabs about tweets and timelines. Elon smirked. Gayle smiled, all on cue. Then 5 minutes in, Gayle leaned forward and changed the rhythm. Do you worry about what you're building? Musk paused. The studio grew still. I do, he said. A lot more than people think. He didn't laugh it off, didn't pivot, didn't reframe. He just looked at her and told the truth. You're talking about AI? She asked. I'm talking about everything, he replied. What we build, what we break. What we pretend we can control. The silence on set was unfamiliar. He went on. I used to think solving hard problems was enough, but now I wonder, am I solving problems or creating them at scale? Gayle glanced toward the producers. They were frozen, eyes wide behind the glass. This wasn't in the prep notes. She asked again, softer this time. Does it keep you up every night? He wasn't playing a part. There was no CEO mask, no internet showman. He looked tired, not in the physical sense, but like someone carrying a weight no one else could see. By the time the segment wrapped, Elon had spoken more about fear than success, more about vulnerability than vision. The closing line landed like a whisper. I built everything I dreamed of, and I'm still afraid we're not ready for any of it. The live audience didn't clap immediately. No one knew how to react. Because the man known for defiance had just offered something else. Doubt. And in that doubt, the whole conversation changed. What began as a headline moment had cracked into something real. And the ripple was only beginning. The interview aired at 8:12 a.m. Eastern. By 8:37, it was the #1 trending topic on X. By 9, it was everywhere else. News anchors replayed the clip, focusing on the moment Elon Musk said, I'm solving problems. Or maybe creating them at scale. The comment wasn't flashy, it wasn't scandalous, but it hit differently because it sounded true. And truth is rare when the stakes are this high. At first, the reaction was confusion. Pundits scrambled to frame it. Was this a strategic play? A calculated softening of image? A PR reset? But the longer they watched, the more they hesitated. This didn't feel like spin. It felt like something Musk wasn't supposed to say out loud. Then the memes started. One viral tweet, "Even Iron Man's tired of being Iron Man." Another, "This isn't a media moment. This is a man unraveling in real time." Late-night hosts tried to joke about it. Some clips landed, some didn't, because every attempt to turn Musk's vulnerability into entertainment felt a little off. Audiences weren't laughing, they were thinking. Meanwhile, Musk remained mostly silent. No clarification, no damage control. Just one post. "You can't disrupt everything without disrupting yourself." It trended for 16 hours. Gayle King stayed quiet too. No interviews, no follow-up commentary. But her name climbed the charts. People began saying what no press agent ever could. She asked the one question no one else dared to. Within 48 hours, think pieces poured in. Elon Musk's most human moment yet. Why honesty on air still matters. The interview that broke the CEO blueprint. But not all the reactions were sympathetic. Some called it a media play. Critics warned that Musk was manipulating vulnerability for control. A few editorial boards questioned the timing, pointing to recent lawsuits and AI controversies surrounding Tesla and X. Guilt as distraction, one op-ed claimed. But those voices struggled to hold traction because the footage didn't feel rehearsed. In fact, it felt raw. Then came the pressure. Corporate investors wanted clarity. Did this mean Musk was stepping back? Would it affect development timelines? Boardrooms buzzed. Analysts speculated. Stock watchers grew nervous. But none of that seemed to shake public sentiment. The audience, both fans and skeptics, weren't turning against him. They were tuning into him. Because what people remembered wasn't just what he said. It was how he said it. No filters. No rehearsed cadence. No billionaire bravado. Just one man, blinking slowly, saying he wasn't sure we were ready for what he had built. Behind closed doors, networks scrambled to capitalize. Every major outlet requested a second interview. Tech journalists begged for a seat at the follow-up table. Podcasts reached out. Panels formed. But Elon didn't bite. No press tour, no part two. And that silence only made the moment louder. Then something unexpected happened. A clip from 5 years earlier resurfaced. Musk on another network laughing off concerns about AI risks. "People love to be scared," he had said at the time, smirking. "I'm more worried about humanity than the machines." Now the contrast was jarring. The man then was armored in arrogance. The man now, bruised by foresight. People began noticing how long the shift had been building. Reddit threads pulled interviews. Fans revisited public appearances. Subtle signs, tired eyes, clipped answers, a shift in tone. One user wrote, "He's been warning us for years. We just weren't listening." The tension reached a peak when a former Tesla engineer anonymously posted a Medium article titled "The Conversation He Never Wanted to Have." In it, the author described a closed-door meeting in which Musk admitted that automation was outpacing oversight. That leadership was racing against itself. That someday, he might have to go on air and say something no one wanted to hear. Looks like that day came. The post ended. And just like that, the interview became something bigger than media. It became memory, not of outrage, not of triumph, but of warning. The world didn't panic. It reflected. For the first time, people weren't asking whether Musk would save the world. They were asking whether the world had already gone too far, and whether he was the only one willing to say it. The rising tension wasn't in drama. It was in the uncomfortable quiet that follows a truth you can't unhear. And millions weren't ready for what came next. 3 days after the interview aired, everything changed. A whistleblower leak surfaced. Internal documents from Neuralink and Tesla's AI division, emails, meeting transcripts, and confidential memos, each marked urgent, internal use only. Top priority. They weren't sensational. They were worse. They were cautious. In one exchange dated 6 months prior, Elon had written, "We're moving too fast. Public trust won't survive the consequences of one wrong iteration. Pause. Fix, or the backlash will be irreversible." Another executive responded, "Delays won't save us. The media's already shaping the narrative. Better to be first and manage the blowback than be late and look afraid." Elon's reply, "And what if we should be afraid?" The documents leaked to a small but credible outlet, and then exploded across platforms within hours. The narrative shifted instantly. Musk hadn't just spoken vulnerably on camera. He had warned his own companies behind the scenes. The media spun like a tornado. Some accused him of hypocrisy, asking if he knew all this, why didn't he stop it? Others defended him, saying he had tried to slow it all down and had been ignored. Either way, he wasn't just part of the machine anymore. He was standing outside of it, pointing to the fire, not fanning it. CBS ran a follow-up segment the next morning. Gayle King returned to the topic briefly, her voice composed but solemn. "He didn't give us drama," she said. "He gave us a warning, and maybe we didn't realize it until now." News outlets dissected every sentence of the leak. Commentators took sides. Twitter became a war zone. Elon warned us trended for 2 days. Then came number ignored by design. And finally, simply, "I said it first." A university ethics board published a paper overnight titled Confession or Consequence, a new paradigm in CEO accountability. It labeled the interview and subsequent leak a case study in public remorse. But not everyone accepted it as sincere. A rival CEO tweeted, "Musk built the fire. Now he wants credit for smelling smoke." The backlash was swift, because this time Elon hadn't claimed to be a hero. He'd admitted he wasn't sure how to stop the thing he helped build, and that made him more relatable than any polished redemption arc. Then, another surprise hit. A never-before-seen internal video from SpaceX was anonymously uploaded to YouTube. It showed Musk speaking candidly to engineers about the future of AI integration and the risks of automating mission-critical systems. "The scariest part," he said in the video, "is that we might succeed." He laughed, but it didn't sound amused. That video hit 20 million views in 36 hours. And now, the question was no longer if Musk was serious. It was, why didn't we listen sooner? In a moment of rare convergence, tech blogs, mainstream media, and even political commentators found a single point of agreement. This wasn't a PR stunt. This wasn't a calculated pivot. This was a man unraveling publicly while still trying to steer the ship. Tesla's stock dipped. Neuralink's board issued a statement claiming full transparency moving forward. But the public wasn't interested in statements. They wanted substance. And Musk, for once, didn't give them a sleek product demo or a confident tweet. He gave them silence. For 48 hours after the leak, he said nothing. No tweet, no post, no live stream, no denial. Then on day 3, he returned with one post. "Sometimes I wonder if I built an empire or a mirror. No logo. No link, no follow-up, just that." And for millions, it hit harder than any apology could. Because for once, Elon Musk didn't sound like the architect of the future. He sounded like someone haunted by what the future might cost. The breaking point wasn't an explosion. It was a quiet, irreversible realization. The most powerful man in tech didn't lose control. He gave it up, on purpose. Not to win favor, not to trend, but to finally say out loud what he couldn't keep buried. That maybe we're not as ready for tomorrow as we pretend to be. And maybe he isn't either. The leak had done its damage, not in the dramatic, scandalous sense, but in the slow, devastating way that truth corrodes trust. Elon Musk didn't fall from grace. He stepped down from it, one quiet moment at a time. The aftermath began where it always does, in the boardroom. Tesla shareholders called for emergency meetings. Investors demanded clarity. A handful of prominent backers issued public statements expressing concern over leadership direction. The stock market responded predictably. A brief drop. A flurry of analysis. Stabilization. But not reassurance. Behind closed doors, executives scrambled. At Neuralink, internal Slack threads were leaked showing leadership debating whether Musk should step away for optics. One message read, "We can't manage this narrative while he's still at the front. We need a firewall, fast." But Elon wasn't fighting them. He wasn't fighting anyone. He withdrew from briefings, skipped advisory calls, declined invites to industry panels he once dominated. Publicly, he maintained a low profile. Privately, he was no longer interested in shaping the message. The silence became louder than his past bravado. And then came the walkout. At a high-level AI conference in San Francisco, Elon had been scheduled to speak. The agenda changed quietly. No press announcement, no replacement. An attendee posted a photo. His name, printed on the schedule, crossed out in red ink. The caption, "Even the futurist pulled the plug." Media ran with it. Elon Musk retreats from the spotlight. From disruptor to disillusioned. Musk's public fade-out. What happens when the man who pushes forward stops? Then another crack. A leaked internal video from a Tesla factory showed Musk speaking to a small group of engineers weeks before the CBS interview. In it, he said, "You'll all want to work on the next breakthrough. But please, build with caution. Not all progress is a gift." The video wasn't dramatic, it wasn't controversial, but it was heartbreaking because it didn't sound like a man running a company. It sounded like a man preparing to be forgotten. In the public arena, the backlash softened, but not with sympathy, with unease. People didn't know how to respond to a version of Elon Musk that didn't sell, convince, or provoke. Because this version didn't ask for attention. He asked for space. Gayle King, when asked weeks later if she'd interview him again, said simply, "Only if he asks." Some people aren't ready to talk again, and I think he left everything he had on that stage. Meanwhile, tech influencers who once mimicked Musk's rhetoric began distancing themselves. A YouTube entrepreneur known for praising Musk's leadership released a video titled, "I was inspired by a myth." Podcasters who had once used him as shorthand for innovation started referencing him in past tense. "He built the future," one said, "but it broke him before we arrived." Tesla released a new update. Neuralink published a research breakthrough. SpaceX launched another rocket, but none of it trended because the public wasn't watching the products anymore. They were watching the man behind them slowly step back into the shadows. The internet didn't celebrate the downfall. It didn't mock him. It missed him. But not in the way fans miss a hero. They missed the idea that someone could build without breaking. And now, that illusion was gone. The downfall wasn't a collapse. It was a surrender. Not to critics. Not to the media. To the truth. That maybe ambition has a ceiling. And Elon Musk had finally hit it. Just when the world had adjusted to Musk's silence, something unexpected surfaced. Not from a news outlet. Not from a leak. But from a forgotten archive. A 15-year-old video. Shot with shaky hands on an early smartphone. It showed a younger Elon Musk standing at the back of a university auditorium. The room was mostly empty, an off-the-record Q&A with engineering students, long before Tesla was a household name and before SpaceX was launching astronauts into orbit. A student had asked half-jokingly, "Do you think you'll still be able to sleep once you build the future?" Elon paused, smiled, and said, "Only if I build it for people, not just for profit. That's the only version worth losing sleep over." The clip resurfaced on Reddit. Within hours, it spread like fire across X and YouTube. It wasn't polished. It wasn't public relations. It was human. And in the face of the cold corporate chaos that had consumed his image in recent weeks, it felt like a window into the version of Elon Musk the world had forgotten. The idealist, the builder, the guy who believed technology could save us, not replace us. That clip unlocked something. Suddenly, the narrative wasn't about collapse. It was about cost. Gayle King tweeted the clip with 3 words. He meant it then. And that changed everything. Because for weeks, the world had watched Musk unravel. They had watched his words dissected, his motives questioned, his silence analyzed. But this shaky, quiet moment from years ago wasn't strategy. It was sincerity, the kind that doesn't age. Then came another twist. A former assistant, one who had worked with Musk in the early days of Tesla, published a brief Medium post titled, "He was never afraid of failing, only of not fixing what he saw." It wasn't long, just a few paragraphs. He was chaotic, impossible, but I never saw him care about headlines. I saw him care when a self-driving prototype missed a pedestrian. I saw him scrap a year of code because a glitch hurt one test subject. I saw him cry when an engineer's son was injured by a factory machine. You think he's unraveling, I think he's unmasking. The post ended with this. What if he didn't go silent to escape us? What if he went silent so he could hear himself again? The world paused because the twist wasn't that Elon had failed. It was that maybe, for the first time, he was living what he had warned us about and choosing not to lead with power, but with pause. That shook people because the arc everyone expected was scandal, backlash, and eventual redemption. But Elon never gave them a perfect villain or a convenient comeback. He gave them something harder. He gave them doubt. And in that doubt, in that twist, the audience realized maybe this wasn't a downfall. Maybe it was a choice. To step back before stepping too far. to stop building before forgetting why he built anything at all. And for once, the silence didn't feel like retreat. It felt like wisdom. In the weeks that followed, something strange happened. The noise faded. The headlines slowed. The outrage cycles cooled. Even the Twitter mobs, so quick to mock, cancel, revive, grew quiet. Not because they lost interest, but because there was nothing to fight. Elon Musk had stepped back, fully, quietly, completely. And no one, not the media, not the markets, not the public, knew what to do with that. For over a decade, Musk had dominated every platform. He was the algorithm, a walking headline. One tweet could shake economies, shift elections, start wars in comment sections. But now, no live streams, no fiery rebuttals, no viral threads. Instead, a single pinned tweet remained on his profile. Sometimes I wonder if I built an empire or a mirror. That tweet would go on to be quoted in college lectures, ethics panels, and business courses. It wasn't just a line, it had become a thesis. Tech conferences that once begged for Elon's presence began centering their themes around ethical velocity, the cost of disruption, and humanized innovation. Panelists used his silence as a case study. Professors built curriculum around the leaked CBS interview. A documentary titled The Interview That Paused the World broke viewership records in its first 48 hours. Even regulators, once skeptical of Musk's testimony, began quietly referencing his leaked emails and congressional briefings on AI oversight. And then came the cultural shift. Public discourse, normally erratic and impatient, turned surprisingly reflective. Influencers began pulling back on content that felt performative. Startups stopped using phrases like move fast and break things. The phrase Musk moment entered the lexicon, not to describe a scandal, but a moment of unexpected vulnerability that alters the conversation. And Gayle King? She never capitalized on the moment. No memoir chapters, no post-tour analysis. When asked why, she said simply, "I didn't catch him off guard. I caught him when he stopped guarding himself." Her words resonated because people weren't applauding a takedown. They were remembering a moment when someone powerful let themselves be seen, fully, truthfully, and without pretense. And that changed more than just Elon's public perception. It changed everyone's. CEOs started giving longer interviews with fewer talking points. Politicians took off their media armor, some for show, some not. Audiences became more critical of polished narratives. Suddenly, the world was less interested in who could say the most, and more interested in who could sit with silence the longest. In that space, something new grew. Not trust, not faith, but curiosity. What happens when the world's most influential man doesn't defend himself? What happens when he admits doubt? What happens when he chooses to stop? The answer, no one fully knew. But one thing was clear. He had opened a door no one could close. Because the aftermath wasn't a media storm. It was a cultural mirror. And in that reflection, the public saw more than Musk's flaws or brilliance. They saw their own. And maybe for the first time, they listened. In a world built on noise, Elon Musk gave us something radical. Silence. Not the silence of defeat, but of reflection. He didn't fall. He stepped aside. Not with scandal, but with sincerity. He didn't confess for sympathy. He spoke because the weight of building the future without boundaries had finally caught up with him. And for one raw moment, he let the world see it. That moment didn't break him. It revealed him. Not the empire builder, not the disruptor, but the man beneath it all, questioning if progress without pause was worth the cost. And when he said, "Maybe I built a mirror," he wasn't just talking about tech. He was talking about us. If this story moved you, subscribe for more cinematic narratives where truth flips the spotlight and silence speaks louder than legacy.